The studio is like, it feels like a mad scientist lab where like instead of a palette with all my colors out, I kind of like spend a lot of time getting the paper pulp to be the texture that I want it to be. And then I have various buckets and bins that are all, where I'll like pigment different shades of color. And I'm sourcing color to answer your other question, from like specific memories that I'm kind of like conjuring up, or maybe it's like a call and response. I want to use this chunk from an old painting. And so like what color would complement that, or what color would complicate that. And it's kind of like a reactionary response with color.
The buckets dry or are they just wet?
It's like oatmeal textured paper pulp. Okay.
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Lauren Goldenberg Longoria. You just had a show at, what's it called? At the After Hours Gallery?
Yeah, it was hosted by, or it was an after hours show hosted by DMST Atelier, which is a space in Mid-City.
That's cool. So did you grow up out here?
I grew up in Orange County.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't say that with a big puffy chest, but I did grow up in Orange County.
Why is, man, LA is, people hate Orange County out here.
I mean, I get it. And like it's funny because I probably sound really defensive when I say this, but I am from the part of Orange County that the housewives are from. But I did not grow up like that. But I went to school with all those kids. Like I was actually like way in the early seasons. Like my dance studio was in an episode. Like I was in that.
Wait, you used to dance, or was that like a hobby thing?
I used to dance like extracurricularly as a child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like it wasn't an origin that.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. It is so funny. I guess I'm not going to say who, but somebody told me that they moved to Huntington Beach or something like that, or one of those areas in Orange County, and people stopped talking to them and I'm like, God damn, dude, that's so tacky.
Yeah, that's a little tacky. I mean, it's like there's this like reputation that precedes or whatever, and it's dumb. But
just because you live in an area doesn't mean that you subscribe to the fucking, like, wouldn't you want people that lean towards you? This guy doesn't vote, so I'm not. I guess the point is moot. They're probably already mad at him for not voting, but it's just a funny thing.
And at 2 years old, when I moved from Torrance, I wasn't like, this will be the place that I settle and grow up. It's just what happened.
But I mean, it's nice. Why can't it just be nice?
It was nice. Yeah, nice. Beautiful.
Places with money are pretty aesthetically pleasing, no?
Yes, genuinely beautiful place to grow up. Yeah. And we're getting like, it's funny, I ended up back in Orange County when I graduated high school. I was like, I am not coming back here. I'm leaving town. And I went up the coast to San Luis Obispo for school. And then...
poverty stricken.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not that probably demographically different. But it did feel like... I felt like so far north for some reason in the Central Coast, but
have you never lived outside of California? Sorry, all to say
no.
What?
I was just gonna say all to say I ended up back in Orange County at UC Irvine for school, and Irvine felt like the big city growing up, so it was like funny to end up back.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like the cool place where mom would drop you off and the other mom would pick you up, and you could just like be seen.
And you'd steal lipstick.
Yeah, I'm too good to steal lipstick, but yeah, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing, like. We're on our own.
Yeah, we're at the mall.
We don't have to walk around with mom with us.
No. Yeah, exactly.
And you learn the beautiful teenage art of loitering, which we did as well. Dayland Mall representing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's hilarious, though. See, I'm not from here, so to me, all that is so silly.
At large, it is really silly. But I have this small sense of pride that now we have these contemporary spaces kind of opening up in Orange County, and it feels like, okay.
I would love to have a place in Orange County.
Yeah.
It's for some reason, I guess because is it not in a valley? It just feels less smoggy.
Yeah, I grew up in what someone recently told me was the butt crack of Orange County because of how far east and south it is. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I grew up basically in a canyon. So there was tarantulas on the walk where you walk your dogs and mountain lions nearby.
That has stimulated my imagination because the idea of just like living in a house where there's like walls on either side. Were you in the canyon?
I wasn't in the canyon, but I was like, adjacent to it.
So you could see into it? Mm-hmm, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was kind of like at the bottom of the hill where you can see into it.
Yeah, that's so funny, like what the reality is versus what I'm picturing.
It's that, but then it's also like 3 shopping centers with like a Target and a Walmart.
I mean, I've been out there. I picture kind of like those nice strip malls in Malibu kind of vibe, just like a little bit more upscale. Yeah,
there's not a lot of like mom and pop restaurants though. No? It's like a lot of chain stuff.
Is there more of that in Malibu, would you say?
I don't know Malibu that well. I probably should as an Orange County girl.
Well, you should hang out with my friends. No, I don't. Oh my God. I drive out there and then go to the state beaches and that's it.
Yeah.
But it is like it is a different world once you get up there. And all that beach town stuff, know. And it does feel very different than Santa Monica. So
yeah.
Anyway, thus ends our tour of
blah, blah.
Of North California. It's just such a fascinating thing to me how the rival. It's almost like how like the Bloods versus the Crips. It's really neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just like that.
It's like neighborhood beefs.
Yeah, totally.
Except less violent
and a little bit of like, I'm sorry, this is where I'm from.
Yeah.
It's ultimately fine.
But so then tell me about you're like. I know you as a paper maker. You have already debuted in a Hiroshi Clark where I gave him credit for you coming up with a really fun trip.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, she must have thought it was romantic. And he was like, no, that was her thing.
Yeah. It was like partially like we wanted to go to Japan because obviously he like spent a lot of time there as a child and he's Japanese. And I had never been and I wanted to like experience and like really get to know that side of him and like meet some family that's there. And there's all that. And then there was also like, I'm starting to venture into this new world of like working with paper, and it's like arguably one of the places it originated, and it was a way for me to like squeeze money out of the institution as well of UCI.
So you were still in school when you did that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was about halfway. Well, I guess we're 3 years. So I was just finishing my second year there, and I got a small travel grant that I used towards that. So we kind of like pushed it all together and made it happen. Yeah.
Man, I'm so bad with grants and shit. Like,
I mean, I'm not great. I think being a grad student, it's help. Like, you're kind of like, they help you.
Yeah, they help you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then like, I usually get into people's art origin stories. So like, when did you, I always like the first memories where you think back and you're like, for me, one that is coming back to me right now is I painted a car crashing into a tree and a woman in a skirt like standing in front of it. It was like really cropped, so it was just like her waist and not even her knees, but like it was more about the gesture of the hand. And my friend and I was like, hey, does this look right to my friends? And my friends were like, yeah, how did you figure that angle out?
That's so funny.
So your first memories like that where you weren't maybe an artist in your head yet, and then the moment you became an artist.
Okay, yeah. It's funny that you're describing a specific, did you say it was a drawing?
It was a painting.
Painting, okay. So I have that similar thing where I have this like distinct drawing that I made, and it's actually became like a bit of an inside joke with my family. That was like butterflies in a lightning storm. And I don't know if I'm so self-obsessed, but I have it tattooed on my arm right here.
Okay.
But it's like something that my dad was always like obsessed with, this like little drawing of these butterflies like flying through like all these beams of lightning.
Okay.
And he like always like would carry it with him and like had it at work and stuff, and it's like super stained and weathered, and like when I really like started to pursue like because my parents are supportive kind of in their own way, and they've always been very supportive. And
sounds like a very Orange County support.
Yes. And it's just because I think they don't know how to access like the exact way that I'm going. They have a different like understanding of like maybe what art is or what art making is or what it should be in a way. But yeah, so that's sort of been like my way to connect with my dad. And he's always like, well, I remember your early work of the butterflies and the lightning storm. And so that's kind of like a tongue in cheek, like my earliest work, I guess. But I think that like I also have a distinct memory in undergrad. About halfway through undergrad, I was working with a professor, And she had us write down our 5 and 10 year goals. And she was like new.
An art professor. Holy shit.
Yeah. She was new to the program, and she had just been hired about halfway through. And she was like, I want you to come up with your 5 and 10 year goals for your career, but then also for your life. And I was like, okay. I was writing all these things, and we sat down like one-on-one in a room, and she was like, and I had said something along the lines of like, I mean, I'm really enjoying all my painting and drawing classes, and I would love to like do this outside of here. I would love to like paint and do whatever.
What were you studying in undergrad?
I have a BFA in art and design.
So you hadn't decided that you were an artist then?
No, because I just kind of like, I was really into art in high school and was taking like IB, which is just like AP art, and was like really into it. And
IB, what does that stand for?
It's International Baccalaureate.
Okay.
Yeah, Orange County is showing again. But it's like AP, but it's internationally recognized, I guess. So you get like college credit at any school in a way that recognizes that. It didn't work.
I come from the land of O levels and A levels, which is all the British system.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, basically she was kind of like, oh, you can be an artist. And I was like, it was kind of like the first time I had permission, because even my parents, I really love them, but it's like, and I don't know that I would advise my children. It's hard. What we're doing is hard. But I remember her being like, you can be an artist. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, you just have to be the hungriest person in the room. You have to want it more than you want anything. You have to want it more than anyone else wants it, kind of thing.
I thought she was going to say, you just need a day job.
Yeah, you just need like a trust fund. But yeah, so I like still like whenever I move into a new studio, I like write hungriest person in the room, like and I hide it in there. And I just kind of like think, because it's like really shifted my perspective of like, you just have to want it. I mean, that's very idealistic. But I'm a bit of a romantic, and I like subscribing to that idea. So I think that was kind of like the moment that I started to take things seriously.
What class did this person teach?
She teaches painting and some more like upper division, like sort of portfolio style classes and stuff like that. Yeah. And
are you happy with her advice?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You're not going, that reminds me, when I was in community college in Maryland, there was this artist that I told I wanted, like, one of my art teachers, I was like, I wanna, pursue this. And she was like, don't.
She was like,
she had a studio.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And sometimes I'm like, man, I should have listened to her.
Yeah. She warned you.
She warned me. Yeah.
No, but that's good. I mean, that's good to have too.
Yeah. No, I don't resent her at all. I literally think that she meant well. Like, because she's like, it's not an easy life, No. And I think that kind of maybe speaks to like what kind of careers are available to you depending on where you're from and what you go to school for. I think that was probably the start of adjuncting being a nightmare. And so I think that's what I don't think she was saying it in the context of like, oh, you won't succeed in gallery. She's like, the way I know how to do it is like, sucks. Yeah,
like by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck.
100%. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think that conversation that I had with her, like it did light a fire that was like, oh, I want this really bad, and like, what am I gonna do to get it, kind of thing. And like, I really attribute a lot of like my weird intensity and like, almost like I call it like assignment giving that I still give myself of like this really intense accountability or something, like to her. Yeah.
And how do you, like, tell me a little bit about the show at After Hours, or the After Hours show at DMST would be wild. DMST, what does DMST stand for? Do you know?
I think it's Dream More, Stay True.
Okay.
It's a really cool little project, or like a really cool artist run space. They have an opening tonight for Juneteenth, with some Black artists. It's really amazing.
I remember when we were booking this, I was like, am I going to invite her on Juneteenth?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And it was when you were available. So
yeah. And I'm going to be in my studio and then hop over to that opening later.
Where are they? They're
the ones that are in like mid-city area.
Okay.
Yeah, like near West Adams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember looking up the address and thinking of going, but then not making it out.
It's fine. Yeah, it's like it's hard to like when things are happening in a given weekend. I think it was the same weekend as like the art book fair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember that was a crazy weekend.
But it looked like a great show. So tell me about the work that you had in there.
Sure. So actually, the way that, and I know that you interviewed Amy McKay. She's half of After Hours along with Kim Garcia.
Who's coming up next?
Oh, great. Yeah, she's lovely. They, and I don't want to mess this up, but from my understanding is they had this space in their old studio years ago where they would kind of like, it felt like its own insular. I never went to those shows because I didn't know them at the time, but they had this space where they would like curate these shows that were supposed to kind of like feel more unconventional and things like that. So they had these specific rules where like they would invite an artist that then invites what I believe was supposed to be like either their art crush or their art enemy, nemesis, to be in conversation with them. So I think that's kind of cool that they give the artist the agency to kind of like choose who they're in conversation with. And then another sort of task that they're given is to transform the gallery and paint the walls a color that is not white. So like transform the white cube, I believe. And so they brought that spirit into this space because they're kind of like, we don't have a space anymore for this. They kind of like, I think got in touch with DMST about it and they're willing to host their programming. So it was like After Hours X DMST. Yeah. So my friend Cara Rayhoven, we recently met. We have like lots of mutual friends, but we recently got to know each other.
I think I have an Instagram account that I follow.
Yeah, that's probably exactly right. She's very good at building community too. So she's good at that. You meet her once and she's like, I've got you in mine. But we kind of got to know each other better this year. I've met her before, but through mutual friends. But she wanted to invite me as, I hope, art crush to be in conversation with her.
Well, that's what is interesting to me. I wonder how many. I know that Christopher Anthony Velasco, who I've had on the show, is probably the only person that I would be interested in that, as long as it sells tickets. Like, cool. Of having somebody that you have beef with. I just can't imagine being like, hey, I don't like you, I'm going to give you an opportunity.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just part of like the spicy pitch of it all. But
well, I mean, I'm sure within the art world, there's amicable rivalries. So I'm sure it's probably that. But the idea of like, I fucking hate this person.
Or there's like such deep love sometimes that's like, you know, when you see, I mean, I don't know if you experience this, but I talked to my friends about like, sometimes you see work that's like so good, it almost pisses you off.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You're like,
but yeah.
I wish I made that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In like such a good, wholesome, loving way. But it's like, that's like the sport of it all for me. Is when you're like, God, that's so good. Damn you. But yeah, so we put this show together and it kind of came together really fast, as a lot of shows do. And I'd kind of been I'd been in like several group shows this year. And so I was kind of like starting to become in a phase where I was like, I'm just going to build a show. And then of course she was like, come do the show with me. So it kind of was a mixture of work that I'd already made along with work that I made specifically to be in conversation with her work. We just have kind of like these very broad but overlapping themes concerning like the body and the landscape, like the relationship between the two or the similarities and differences between the two. Let's put it like very broadly. And then also like kind of themes of like identity and like how that's presented abstractly in the work and things like that, or how that's sort of accessed and imbued in the work in a way that's not like illustrative. And I think we kind of really built the show organically. I really trusted like Kim and Amy and also Cara to kind of like lead the way, because I entered it feeling very much like a guest, but they made me feel really like a collaborative part as well. So I had about, I think like maybe like 5 or 6 paper works, and Cara had like a video and some sculptural things.
So the paper stuff, tell me a little bit about the process, because you're like making chunky like beefy,
chunky,
almost
beefy,
like steaks of paper.
I like steaks. That's good. Yeah, I always hear like meaty. It's
beefy.
usually like these like big words. I almost need to like uncross my legs for that. And usually words of like,
it's not
that are
masculine
gross and
work.
yeah, but it just feels like it has this like.
Well, I guess you don't.
I'd like to think
you don't associate beefy and meaty with like flattering things you say to women.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, but
so that's why it that's where the disconnect, I would imagine, is.
And I think I like the word beefy for these things that are like, essentially, I guess they're fragile because they're out of paper, and they're small and like pink. So I like the beefy.
Because it looks like
I like that it's like both, you know. But I guess I can talk about my process. I guess I really am, and I'll say I'm a really cheesy romantic person. So when I describe this stuff, it might err on the side of that.
Are you a romantic comedy person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Give us an idea of what your favorite ones are. So before we get it, that way we can, it's an appetizer so that people, the saccharine, they can have context.
I mean, it's like so funny. I don't know that you would think that I like Forgetting Sarah Marshall from my paintings, but I guess that's a good one. It's like when I ask this question, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forget everything I've ever seen. I love it. I'm a big like Napoleon Dynamite girl.
Okay, so
I think that's where some of my not which is probably a basic answer.
10 things. No, not How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Sure, that's also a great one.
Oh, okay, so even the more Hollywood saccharine ones.
I'll take like the cheesiest. I love it all.
It's like action movies for guys. You just tune your brain out.
Potato chips. It's so good.
Popcorn
reality
movies.
TV. It's all good. Yeah, there's no.
Are you a Housewives fan?
I'm not.
Of OC?
I'm like kind of a poser with. I love like cooking reality TV.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, but
all right, now tell me about your work now that we know that you're a cheese ball.
I'm a cheese ball. So I am a studio artist in a really like intense sense of the word. Like I think that people like have studios that they work in and stuff, but like my work like depends on like the shit that falls on the floor in the studio and that gets repicked up and like put back in, and like it like needs to be made in the studio. So I'll set
how much
scene.
Dust ends up in your work?
Well, recently I've actually been like using, the work is made horizontally, so things like fall off of it or like get broken off, or I break things off, and so like, and I leave things readily available on the floor. It feels important to like have things at the ready to grab, because I work really improvisationally. So recently I've been thinking a lot about the floor as like a site, like a record of my like activity in the studio. And so I've been doing things like picking up the rags that are like encrusted and like crunchy stiff rags with like glue and dye and pigment and charcoal dust and things, and like using it as a way to like stain the surface of the wet paper to kind of like be this record of this site,
of how messy your floor was.
Sure. Or just like
because this happened off air, but we were talking about how you're sharing a studio with Hiroshi, and my
lovely partner.
And I asked because you are also living together, so I asked who's the cleanest one, and you immediately started talking about or are you both clean? It was actually there was no throwing anyone under the bus in my question. I was like, are you both clean? And you were like, not in the studio. Yeah,
you wouldn't know it from my white shirt, but I'm a mess.
Even at home, I
think I'm better at home, and like I don't like dirty stuff, and so I think I'm pretty good. We live in tight quarters, so not a lot of storage. So we definitely have like the chair with the clothes on it, but I'm a mess in the studio, and that brings me back to like it's really important to me to like make sure I almost like can't keep it too clean, because maybe that's an excuse, but I need the like detritus. It's like really self-propelling. It like is really self-propelling. Like I can kind of trace the work that I'm making now all the way back to like the work I was making at the end of undergrad, almost like each move was consequential and like it's like a domino effect, like almost directly in a way. It's kind of interesting. But I guess I arrived at the paper. I can talk about that, and maybe it'll lean into the process.
Did you start as a painter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I started.
Do you paint at all anymore?
I still think of myself kind of. It's interesting. Yes and no.
I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could say that it is. I mean, you're painting the paper, right?
Kind of. I'm actually not painting the paper.
Dyeing it?
Yeah, I'm like pigmenting like the pulp of the thing.
What are you using? Acrylic?
I'm using liquid acrylic and like loose pigments. I know.
It's painting.
And I'm programmed like a painter. And it's really interesting. Oh, there's so much I want to talk about. But
go for it. I'm going to shut up.
No, please.
I don't want to interrupt the flow. Whatever's in there, get it out.
The way that I relate to people is that I cut them off and say,
No, this is the venue for it.
Okay, I'm going. So I guess like I started making paper or working with paper because I had a really intense like collage based practice. I guess assemblage because I was using more than just paper, but it wasn't really like found objects too much.
Which explains why the floor is the layout of your current stuff. That makes sense. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking collages. Yeah,
I was working like really figuratively, like really with realism, like in undergrad, and it became more and more clear to lots of faculty and like mentors that I adore, that I was like way more interested in the background and like creating weird textural surfaces or like figure ground relationship with like thick paint and things like that. And they were like, why are you painting the figure? And I was like, well, that's how you make a painting. And they were like, no. And so they were like, take the figures, paint them on paper, because now you're not like married to this bound object, cut them up, and now like that's your job. Like go make paintings with the scraps. Like just to learn how to like create like form and composition without being so representational in a way. So I think like my start with painting in a really serious way was about abstracting things, rather than right now I feel like it's kind of like just this like gesture that's like really abstract and a result of a process rather than like abstracting something else. So that my origins come from like abstracting something else. And then that sort of led to making work that was made out of like scraps of paper, and I would keep all my old paintings. So I would like kind of start painting on paper, and then whenever I felt like I was getting stuck, I would like cut it out and attach it to a panel and kind of like build up the surface with like felt or like a dress that I didn't wear anymore, and was just like starting to get interested in how like materials can like contain meaning in themselves kind of, and not so much like letting the material or the materiality carry a lot of the sort of like meaning. The right word is escaping me.
Was that a pigeon just now?
It might have been. Something flew by. A beefy pigeon.
That's a fucking sound I never hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I also think that like it's interesting. It is gestural, but it is like three-dimensional gestural. It's like crusty, like relief almost. You know,
100%.
Right? Like you're not. When I say paper, I mean, you're not making like flat sheets of paper. Or even like, you know, like, cause there is artists have a fetishization for surfaces.
Totally.
These are not surfaces for production of art. These are objects in and of themselves, but they are paper, but it doesn't look like paper mache. I mean, in theory, it looks like from the pulp, you could actually make like a three-dimensional figure. It's not, 100%. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm just trying to give people a visual of why it's meaty, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
And it's textury too, right? Like it's pulpy, which is interesting in the way that it is itself talking about how paper is made, but also creates like an illusion of a surface. Sometimes it can look a little bit like other planetary, otherworldly, you know.
Cool.
And then sometimes the colors in it. I mean, I'm remembering from a long time ago that I went to your show at Last, but I just remember, and I remember asking you there. I was like, "Would you be interested in doing the podcast?"
Yeah.
And I finally got back to you.
Here we are. Here we are.
But yeah, when I saw you at After Hours, I was like, "Oh, now's the perfect time. She's got something to promote."
Totally. Thank you.
So yeah, but I do. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have this person on because this is interesting stuff. What are you doing with color selection? Because sometimes it's not, it doesn't look like it's one solid color, right? It looks like there's like almost like it's stirring.
Sure, yeah, it's like
mixing, stirring, and then it hardens, and then like it's like when you mix paints together, and then there's like little streaks of different colors and stuff like that, which does make it look steaky sometimes.
Yeah, I'm all about it. It's like marbled, kind of.
Yeah, marbled like a good Wagyu.
Yeah.
What in this world is happening?
That's not a pigeon.
That's what the pigeon was running from.
Sure, it's the natural sounds. Yeah, I guess like. Oh gosh, it's like you asked me a question and then I want to answer it in this really roundabout way.
Do it. But, you got time, kid.
Okay, great. So I think like what I'll say is because I think talking about like how I ended up making the work that I'm making now will really lend itself to like answering that. And so eventually I was making all these, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was making these collages that were like built up on these panels and they were getting really encrusted. I was working on them for like 8 months at a time. They were getting like, there was conversation around like relief talking about them. And then at a certain point I was like, okay, well, who am I kidding? Because it's like, yeah, we're talking about how sculptural they're getting, like with my painting hat on. And it's like, yeah, but it's only like this deep, like maybe an inch off the surface. Like it's not that sculptural, you know, and it still is more like a skin sitting on top of something else. And so I was thinking like, okay, my process is kind of driven from like recycling all these little bits and pieces from forever ago and like using all these different materials. Like what if, and I always talk about it in this language of like Frankensteining these amalgamations of things. And because it really feels like this slapping together of parts in a way. And
with like just the sloppy sound too, like
yeah.
Really satisfying.
Squelching.
Not something I would want to touch, but to watch someone play with it.
Totally.
But I'm not a clay guy either.
Sure,
like I don't.
yeah.
I'm like. Ugh.
Yeah. If you change your mind, let me know. But yeah. So basically, I was like, okay, let's turn the volume up to 100 on that, and like just like instead of breaking these bits down by ripping them, let's like break it down with a blender and like really break it down and recycle. And so the early work was like reincorporating all the paper bits, like to make a new unified form that was no longer, there was no separation between what was surface and what was the support. And
this was more chippity choppity rather than blended.
It was blended. It was like coming out of the chippity choppity.
Okay. But
so
there was
that's
a
what got me
chippity
to blend.
It goes collage chippity choppity of old paintings, trying to rearrange it in a maybe more of a collage-y kind of approach, and then finally you're like, fuck collage.
Yeah, let's like really, because I was like, oh, I like this conversation about like it existing, like it feeling kind of like sculptural, and at that point I'm like, yeah, I'm using a brush to apply like these veils of color at the time when I was making the chippity choppity, but I was like, it feels really like sculptural in its like procedure. And so that's how I started to blend the paper. And it's increasingly, fast forward to now, it's increasingly become even more like there's not a lot of, yes, there's things happening towards the surface, but like, especially in areas where I cut off like the side or I shave the front off, like it really reveals that it's like there's no distinction between the structure and support of the thing and the surface. Like the color, I like to say that they're like pregnant with color. It bleeds all the way through to the back. I wanted it to be less about like a surface treatment. And so like I've increasingly kind of like carved this path that feels really like it's situated. Like, it's funny, people are like, you make paintings, and other people are like, these are sculptures, why are they on the wall, you know? So I
like them on the wall.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of insist right now on them being on the wall because I feel like I want to see how I think like a painter, I operate
imposters.
like a sculptor.
The pieces are imposters. They're pretending to be something that they're not. I like that, like not, I mean, I not necessarily directly like that, but I'm just saying like the fact that they're not out of place because of how you're presenting them. Anyway, fuck those people.
Yeah, it's fine. I like the idea that it's like paper that's behaving badly or something, or like very defying or like resisting this like expectation,
like
of,
Indiana Jones stealing a Nazi uniform and trying to hide
that.
Exactly that.
It's the same.
Can I also? What was it? I got a flash of you blending paper, and that made me think of your Orange County roots, because the stereotype of just like, I'm juicing now. Well,
I was gonna say I did work at Jamba Juice, so it's all in there.
You were at work and you were like, oh my god, I hate that painting.
Yeah, exactly. Basically,
what can I do with it?
I basically, like, the studio is like, it feels like a mad scientist lab where like, instead of a palette with all my colors out, I kind of like spend a lot of time getting the paper pulp to be the texture that I want it to be. And then I have various buckets and bins that we're all like pigment, different shades of color. And I'm sourcing color, to answer your other question, from like specific memories that I'm kind of like conjuring up, or maybe it's like a call and response. I want to use this chunk from an old painting. And so like what color would complement that, or what color would complicate that. And it's kind of like a reactionary response with color.
The buckets dry, or are they just wet?
It's like oatmeal textured paper pulp.
Okay.
That's like pigmented.
Do you have to keep adding water to it to keep it fresh? Is it like clay in that sense?
So I actually, like, before I make anything, I guess that's a good question. Before I make anything, I spend a couple days like making I have to work within a certain window, because wet paper wants to like get moldy or get gross or funky or something like that. So I kind of have to spend like 1 to 2 days like prepping the paper pulp, so it's like I don't see any of the like paper shred in it anymore. I don't see any of the text, because I use recycled paper from friends and family.
Paper shred?
So I use, oh my gosh, I'm assuming a lot of things. So I actually use paper shred from family members, like when you shred your junk mail kind of thing.
Is it a diamond? Is it a strip?
I'm not really prejudiced against any shred, but yeah, I break it down further, and then I kind of like drain the water out, and then lots of boring things happen. But basically, once it gets to my like perfect consistency that I get fetishy about, then I kind of like mix it with this like pH neutral adhesive, and like
so it's an adhesive, it's not water.
I use water, and once I drain a lot of the water out, I mix it with
the water makes it pulp, the thing makes it adhere and keep the shape.
Yes, so I basically mix paper pulp with water and blend it so that it's able to be blended. Okay. Otherwise,
you can't just blend raw paper?
I mean, I haven't tried it. I don't think that would work very well.
Okay. No, I have an immersion blender that I want to play with now.
That's what I use. I'm like, I bet. Over all my bins. Yeah. But yeah, and so then I pigment that, and then I work horizontally.
What's the shelf life for the pulp when you have it? Once you get it ready? Once
I get it ready, I like to get it ready maybe maximum 2 days before, because then when I pour it into the mold that I use, which is like a rectangular frame that I build, it stays wet for quite a while. Like, it doesn't dry very fast, because we're talking like 3 inches thick of solid wet paper. Like, think of like the thickest, wettest sponge.
You don't press it when you put it in the frame?
I do press it, but it's still dense. Like the one that you had seen at Last Projects was like way thinner than these newer works are like about that double the thickness. So they take longer to dry, and I was drying them in an electric kiln at a really low temperature. So now I'm like coming home with like a little baker, and I'm coming home and putting them in the oven at 200 degrees to speed up the drying time, because I don't want it to knit itself a sweater or anything.
Yeah. Wait, knit itself a sweater?
Get moldy. That's what my dad used to say that.
Get moldy has knitted itself a sweater.
Yeah, because it gets all fuzzy. It's like starts to knit itself a sweater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
Oh, I guess a fruit is knitting itself. Wow, that is wild.
Yeah, you can take that with you.
That is like too much of a euphemism.
Yeah.
It's like makes gross moldy fruit.
I've always liked that. It's just going to knit itself a little sweater. Yeah, so I let it air dry a little bit so it's not gonna, because it essentially goes from a liquid to a solid.
Okay.
And that's where kind of like it buckles and shrinks and warps and does all these exciting things. But yeah, once it gets like dry enough where I can transport it home to stick in the oven until one day I get like a kiln. The scale is also right now determined by the size of my oven.
Of your oven.
Yeah.
So you could not feasibly just leave this in the sun to dry?
I could. I don't know. I don't know how long I can leave it. And I'm also really careful. I only use like bottled water and I recycle the water. So I like don't need that much water. Mm-hmm. But I'm using a pH meter to test the pH in my water. I'm using
a meat thermometer.
Basically. Yeah. And so it gets really sciencey in there. Because paper is really something I really love about it is like also being a steward to this material that needs an immense amount of care. Mm-hmm. Like paper is extremely vulnerable. And I love that the way that it like relates to the body and the way that it breathes and the way that
How does it relate to the body?
I think it's porous. Okay. It's sensitive to light and heat and it withers with age and you like need to care for it to like be okay. And I just like that's the romantic side of me coming out, but I really love it as a material because I think it kind of like can speak to so many things. It's also like kind of like a humble material. Like works on paper are not regarded like oil on canvas thing, you know? Yeah. So I like that. I like it as a vehicle. You're
fetishizing an inferior in the art world. But it's interesting because does it still stay? I mean, it's not a work on paper. It's work of paper.
I like to say that they're works of paper. Yeah. Because I don't even like to call them paintings anymore because like basically the entire procedure happens like while like kind of like in this one big crazy afternoon. Mm-hmm. and then it dries. And then sometimes I'll do like a surface treatment where I'll like flock it with like this paper flocking that I make, which is the dust I was talking about. Or I will like re-soak it or like put new wet paper on top, but often it kind of gets made all in one sitting essentially. Mm-hmm. So there's I think not that, people are talking about my work, but like there's a common misconception when I talk to people about my work where it's like I'm not creating a textured thing that I'm painting on. Like it's
no, but it reads. I mean, some people are just not well versed in looking at things.
Sure. I guess I like use.
I think because you're kind of if you're not a conceptual artist, but you're definitely in a postmodern modality, right? You're not using the materials in the traditional sense. So I can understand people struggling with that don't necessarily understand art on that level, which is, that's not to disparage them. It's just like 100%. There's a barrier of entry that they may still like the work, but they don't necessarily understand where it sits within the hierarchy, or not hierarchy because it's not but like just where it sits within the fine art
world.
Do
we put it?
And how to categorize, and people 100%. do like works on paper, categories.
And I think like that part of it all like gets really, that's where it's like really started to be interesting to me, and where I feel like I can sink my teeth into this for kind of a while.
Mm-hmm. It's fertile ground. And and as sorry, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, go ahead.
Because I think that I understand wanting to take them off the wall, mm-hmm. but it might lose some of its paperness mm-hmm. when it becomes a sculptural object, right? Like that. I think that what makes it so interesting is that it's a meaty piece of paper as opposed to, so and that's not a criticism or anything like that.
I don't take it as one.
No. I'm saying it, like, that's not to discourage you from doing it. But you kind of hinted that you might be thinking about that, but you're still mostly on the wall, right?
Yeah. I think I'm never that interested in being like, I will not do this.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to gauge
where I'm at,
where you're at. Choppity.
Yes. And I really, in that sense, like I I don't really make like series. I really kind of like make a lot of work at once, and it's a lot of call and response. So I think you can kind of like zoom out and see these like distinct bodies of work in a way, but it's not like I'm in pursuit of making a show about this. Like there's things I'm thinking about, of course, like, and like even like down to the way that I'm sort of articulating form or color through these like pieces. They're sort of embedded with their own histories. Like I make these tools out of these plaster casts of personally significant objects or like parts of my body. And that's what sort of makes these impressions or cavities in the paper. So I'm really interested in this kind of like translation and abstraction. And like even going back to talking about like categorizing the work, like that feels like I'm in pursuit of making these objects that maybe like exist in like these in-between spaces, or like people don't really know where to put them. And like, again, I'm not totally interested at the forefront of my work to talk about identity, but I do think that like realizing like being someone who's mixed race and like often feeling neither here nor there with things feels like, oh, abstraction. And in this particular way of making, I'm like trying to carve out a space for these things and kind of like continue to challenge, where do they go? It feels like, not that that's why I make it, but it's consequentially like a factor.
What was that term that you used to describe the kind of Mexican that you are?
Oh, I was saying that people like I'm probably technically a no sabo kid.
No sabo kid.
No sabo.
What does no sabo mean?
Like it's like funny because that's not what you would say, right? You wouldn't say like no
no
sabo.
sé.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's why I was confused.
I know enough to say that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And like I understand most Spanish, and when I'm in Mexico, I like can pop back into it. I think I'm just out of practice.
Yeah.
My dad is from England and my mom is Mexican, and somehow it just never got spoken when I was a little kid. And I'm like, except when I was at my grandparents' house and I was only speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And I'm second generation. And so like a lot of my family speaks Spanish. But yeah, I'm just out of practice. And so it's like this weird thing. This is a whole nother conversation, but it's that weird, like almost like burden that you have to then take on to like preserve your heritage and culture, and it's very important to me, so I need to continue to work on that. But yeah,
I wasn't shaming
no sabo kid. There's a whole world of us out there.
I just love that terminology.
Yeah, there's a whole world of us out there.
But there's a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't even be that embarrassed you don't speak Spanish, because there's just so many generations of Mexicans here. It's like crazy that you don't need to. Like in Miami, it's everywhere. It's not like it's in Miami. Literally it takes a village, to the point where white people move there and they start talking English as if they spoke Spanish, because the accent is so infectious, you know?
Totally.
Like I used to have it. I used to talk a little bit like this.
Yeah, it's a different accent too. Yeah.
But now even that sounds like I'm doing someone who doesn't speak English properly, you know, but like, pero coelo suave.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never really, because I left Costa Rica when I was 6 years old. So I think that, and Spanish was my first language there. So I think that when I got back at 12 years old, the Cuban accent didn't catch, you know, because I used to say carajillos and all these like very specific Costa Rican words that are hilarious to think about. But yeah, so like I listen to my siblings, they all sound Cuban. Yeah. But awesome. When they speak Spanish, but I'm just like, I'm just the anomaly. So, but I, you know, like, I think out there, it's interesting in Miami how it still happens. There's still like third generations, fourth generations that completely don't speak Spanish at all. So you're there. I mean, you didn't have both. I want to absolve you of the Catholic guilt that you seem to have inherited.
How did
from
you know that it was Catholic guilt?
Because I can smell it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
With all the anti-racism stuff that was going on, I recently I was like, oh, this sounds like Catholic guilt, like what they're trying to do. And then I literally saw a video of Robert DiAngelo saying, yeah, I thought it would be a great idea to, I'm like, you want to use a religious tool of oppression to oppress? Like, I was like, oh God. So yeah, no, but the Catholic guilt, I definitely smell it on people.
I think it's funny too, because, I mean, not to talk about him, but my partner and I talk about this all the time of like being mixed race and okay, so just to say this, like, it's kind of funny. It's a funny thing. Like, people who are close to me know this, that like I'll be ordering a coffee and people are always like, where are you from? Yeah. Like, it's kind of like so often, not to be like a pick me or whatever, but it's like very often that I'll be like on the treadmill and someone will be like, take your headphone out and tell me where you're from. It's like very strange, actually.
Tienes cara latina.
Thank you. That means a lot, actually, because I think I've everybody's like, are you Persian? Are you Greek? Are you? And so it's funny that like, and I'm not offended. Like, that would be like beautiful cultures, but I just mean like, it's interesting that I feel like from what I've received from people who don't know me is that I don't appear to be Mexican. And so then my name is Lauren Goldenberg, and I've recently adopted Longoria because it's like there was no signifier phenotypically or like in my name that precedes me sometimes.
Phenotypically it's there. It's just that we are in a city where there's a lot of brown Latinos. And I think that just puts us in a situation where people don't have the full scope of what being Latino is. You know,
it's very nuanced,
and it's expansive because it means it means Venezuelans, you know, and within all these cultures there's a lot of diversity. I once had somebody on the podcast and I was like, and he was talking something about race, and I said, yeah, but you're Mexican. He was like, Mexican's not a race. And I was like, yeah, that's right, you know. But like, so I think that Mexican is a descendancy, is a national descendancy, but it's not a racial identity.
Sure.
You know, so, and that is like, I always point to Chicano, like that is a whole generation of people that come from Latin America who don't speak Spanish. I mean, maybe the Asco people did and all of that, but there's a lot of people that are brown and Chicano is their signifier to be like, yeah, I don't speak Spanish anymore, but I am of these origins.
Of course.
And it's interesting, like how in this country we separate like Native American from like indigenous Latin American when they are probably closer related to each other than anything else, you know? So,
sure.
But I get Persian all the time too. I get Persian nonstop. And at first, I've said this before on the show, at first it used to bother me. I had to analyze why. And that was my problem.
Sure.
And now people speak Farsi to me and I'm like, oh my God. But it really is interesting, especially what's happening right now in the world. Like when you look like something, you kind of become that too.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
In a weird way, you're like, you sort of, you can move. I remember I was working at an art supply store and this woman was wanted to get like, she wanted to get a airbrush for nails, right? And she didn't speak a lot of English, but she zeroed in on me and I was like, oh, I don't speak Farsi. And then she still wanted to work with me just because my appearance made her feel like I was somehow related. And so I think that's like one of the crazy things about LA. And one of the things that I love, like one of the reasons that I don't, you know, as somebody who's really interested in interviewing people and talks about cultural issues almost exclusively, it's like, where else could you get exposure to all these like invisible communities, you know? Like I'm just reaching, I did an interview with Chen Hung Cheng, and she like the interview went really well, and then I've been invited to do like I did an AAPI talk.
Awesome.
As a Latino, and it's just like that's a community that like you know, nobody really talks about, nobody really acknowledges, but they're just starting to get that sort of like sense of community. I love it out here. So I totally understand the frustration. Like it takes a while to get used to that, you know?
Yeah, I think actually mine is more like a personal, I mean, there's probably elements that have to do with these outside factors, but I think it's mostly like me, maybe this is very vulnerable, but I feel like it's like a personal, almost like insecurity of like, oh, I've been told that I don't look this and I don't speak this language, and like my name doesn't have any signifier. And so like this weird, like I need to just like figure out, I feel a lot better now. But like previously I was like, I had to like really think about like, who am I?
I went through the same thing.
Yeah.
I used to
It's like a disorienting thing.
I moved to LA. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this like very nuanced, disorienting experience, because also like I'm half white and there's like that kind of privilege that comes with that. But then there's like,
but you're also half Jewish, no?
Yeah, that's part of the white. And so there's like so many layers there. Yeah. And so, I was going to say, it's mostly just like a weird like contention with like this almost guilt, or like that I need to take responsibility to like learn this language to preserve this thing.
Yeah, but with the identifier, I moved to the LA as Javi.
Okay,
that's how everybody talked to me in Miami. That was my name. Yeah, all of that, and then everybody started calling me Javi, which is an Arab name.
Interesting.
And then I just started going by Javier, because that was a clear cultural signifier, you know, and Mexicans were saying racist shit about Arabs to me. Sure.
Yeah. I'm telling you, there's nuance in everything.
Yeah. So I was like, no. I understand you. You can talk shit, but like,
I know what you're saying about talking shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is. And I think that Latino is that varied a community, you know, and like, and then, you know, I have a friend who's a white guy in Miami, straight up good old boy, loves all that kind of music, you know, Leonard Skinner and shit like that. He would hate me for saying that. He's a huge Grateful Dead fan. He hates Fish, and likes a lot of like Medeski and kind of stuff. But dude is Catholic, and
funny,
he's not white like other white. He's not white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That Catholic guilt is fucking makes him so Latino.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yep, it's there.
You know? And so it
culturally
is frustrating to have your experience a little bit erased too, you know? Because I'm sure that people, like all the white people that are like really aware and going to protests and stuff are probably like, yeah, but you're you know, I'm like, you're literally doing it right now.
Yeah. It's like too much for this room or not enough for this room. Or and that's like, again, it's not even about anyone really being exclusionary, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm Latina. Hello, you know, and it sometimes doesn't feel like it's received, which is just like maybe something that I'm
go to Miami
or something.
Go to Miami, everyone will talk Spanish to you.
Great.
That's what it's like when I go there too, you know. It's a funny thing. And it's a funny thing to like be from a place and then leave it. Like I used to have some resentment towards the city just because of all the drugs that like, and all of the dark nights that I spent there. But now that I'm like a well-adjusted human being, you know, like, I mean, my friends are still out there dying, but it's like, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, it didn't suck me down, you know, and that's a nice feeling. And Miami's kind of different now. It's not, I mean, I'm sure they're still partying, but I think fentanyl has probably changed that scene where like you can't casually party the same way. Yeah. Like you could just get coke and not worry about fucking dying, you know? So, so yeah, but then at the same time, it's like, yeah, all that shit was fucked up, but it's right here in my heart.
Yeah, all these experiences that make us sort of who we are.
Yeah. The things that make me identify as Florida man specifically.
There you go.
Yeah. Just like, oh yeah, you guys would not feel comfortable, but I'd be like, oh.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's a whole world over there.
Tell me a little bit about the OC. You don't have to be ashamed, man.
It's okay. I know. I'm like, what is all this shame?
Yeah, that's LA. That's the same thing that like, it's the same thing that those white people say is like, cause I don't think Latinos are like, oh, fuck you. You're from Orange County.
Yeah,
and,
no,
you know, it's like, it really is like it's the veil of inauthenticity of people that move here for industry sitting on top of the people that have lived here for generations. You know, and It's like this weird defensive-ness too, because it's like,
oh, well, then you're probably just some rich kid. And I probably lived a more privileged life than other people, but I also was not a rich kid.
Yeah. I lived a very privileged life.
Like in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
No, but like, I don't even understand why people should be ashamed of that.
Yeah.
The goal is never to make more people more poor. The goal is to make more people rich.
Yeah.
That's socialism. So like, it's not like you were as a kid, like, fuck everybody. No, Yeah. So anyway, please tell me about your childhood without shame.
Sure. I don't know. I grew up in suburban South Orange County in this place with hiking and strip malls, and I went to school with a very, very small school, Montessori school, and I'm still friends with like my core group of friends, where like my middle school was like 12 people.
Oh, wow.
And there were 2 other girls by the time I left. And so like,
wait, so you were the only girl from most of that?
No, we had like maybe 1 or 2 others. Like my middle school was 6th through 8th grade, and it was the same group the whole way through. So it wasn't like there were 6th graders while there were 8th graders. It was like, we're all in 6th, then we're all in 7th, then we're all in 8th. It's kind of interesting.
Was it like a private school?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Like that's the benefit. Really small Montessori school.
That's the benefit of having money.
Yeah. yes. So I feel like my parents put it all in education, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, still very close friends. Tomorrow I'm hanging out with some of my friends that I've known since longer than I've known my little brother, who's 4 years younger than me. So I'm grateful for those relationships. And I think like that type of like Montessori mentality or whatever, you could probably say that like my interest in like figuring things out by doing them with my hands probably comes from that or whatever. But also just like loving squishing gross things probably. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I had a good childhood. I danced. I did a little bit of soccer.
What position
watched
did you
Nickelodeon. I played, I think like midfield, and my dad's English and would drive me to the game and would just be like, if you score a goal today, I will give you $100. And I would never score a goal. But
were you more defensive, I guess?
I think I just am not really an athlete.
You're not an athlete?
No,
okay.
But I did it for a little. And it was fun. My brother's more of the athlete. But I don't know. I had a pretty good childhood. I mean, like, my parents have a lovely marriage. I feel like nothing really that interesting to report. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it just sounds like a regular
pretty
child.
regular. Yeah, I feel grateful for that. And then I went to undergrad straight out of high school. I did go to Catholic high school.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, unpacking that still.
I should have known.
Yeah. Is there any part of me that's giving I chose to be the lunch lady so that I wouldn't have to I didn't fit in at school so much that I purposefully chose to work as the lunch lady so I wouldn't have to have the social anxiety of figuring out who to sit with at lunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've come a long way. Now I'm on a podcast, guys. But I did not fit in. Yeah, I did not fit in with my high school kind of at all.
Yeah.
And
was it the teachings, or was it?
It was like the smell in the air.
What do you mean?
It's kind of just like fancy kid, rich school.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really grateful. My parents were very about we want to send you to a really academically rigorous school and safe school or whatever. But yeah, so I'm grateful for all of that. But it definitely, I think I found myself in college.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Catholic school, do you know about this retreat called Kairos?
No, but sounds like we're already getting into
the juicy part.
Cult territory.
Yeah, this is the juicy part. It's it's an experience that people that go to Catholic high school experience. And it's a retreat where you go for a week. And basically I'll speak to my experience, but we went up on, where Julian is in San Diego area? It's
Not really, but
kind of like a mountainy town where they're famous for pie.
Okay.
But they're they took us in these vans, and I really wanted to do Kairos because I think with all due respect to everybody who is Catholic, I realize now that a lot of my participating in being Catholic was very performative.
Yeah, I mean, it is a performative. Have you been to Italy?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we pray before we eat because like that's what you do literally before you pick up your fork, like you know, and like no disrespect, but my best friend from childhood, like from that same little Montessori school, horribly died from cancer when I was in high school, and it just like shattered my world, and I was like, there's no God. Duh. This would never happen. Like, this is crazy. And so I like didn't follow through with all my sacraments with like confirmation and stuff. I like told my parents, I was like, I cannot do that.
Yeah, I'm also not confirmed.
No, yeah, I was like, that's where I draw the line. And they were very respectful of that. But yeah, so Kairos, they take us in these vans, and I was like, well, I don't want to be at school for a week, so I want to go to Kairos. And we had really strict uniforms, and if you went to Kairos, you could wear the Kairos like soft t-shirt to school, and I was very attracted to that idea. So we get on these like,
incentives, they're not mistakes.
I'm telling you, it worked like a charm.
They know what the fuck they're doing.
Get in these vans, they drive us up to this little mountain town. We stay in dorms, like summer camp style housing, and every night you like do the thing you probably see in movies where there's like a guitar and you're like singing the same song over and over until you get this meditative state, and it's this like really emotional time where you get in groups with students that you don't really know, and you literally sit around a candle and talk about your trauma. And I remember, not to air out anyone's laundry, I'll keep him anonymous, but I remember this football player, cool guy, was like, I smoked weed, and was like crying, and we were like around this candle, and I was like, oh my God, you smoked weed? That's crazy. You know, and you hadn't smoked and at I was that like time? We forgive you. No, not till college. Okay. But yeah, so I was like wow, like we're really like, you know, and I was just like dealing with sort of the death of one of my best friends, and it was like you like really air out your trauma to these people that you don't know, and then like on the last night you open these letters that all your friends and family send you about like being faithful and stuff, and there's one time when you have to sit in this chapel and do confession, and you like basically sit and there's a view of the whole mountain, and you like sing these songs for hours. And I like remember there was a moment in that when I was like, oh shit, I think I see God. And then that did not last, but it's like, it was like very crazy. And there's a lot of people who have that similar Kairos experience, and it's like copy paste, like it doesn't matter where you go to school, it's like that. Wow. Which is really interesting. That's like the juicy like tea I have from Catholic school. Otherwise I was the lunch lady, and ran cross country and started drawing really intensely. We had like paid workers we had paid workers too, but there was like some program where you could get like free lunch and you could like leave class early and get free lunch if you like were the little cashier at the like lunch line. That sounds like child labor. Yeah, and then when you forget to take your hairnet off and you like go to class, it's really not good for popularity. Yeah, it was very much like brooding and just like the artist. Yeah. I was a brooding kid too. Yeah. I took a long time to get out of my shell. I actually think I still, well, I'm definitely neurodivergent, but I do think that I like what I appreciate about all the talk about autism in the public consciousness is that I'm like, oh, maybe I'm so tired from socializing because I'm masking, you know? Mm-hmm. And because I spend a lot of time alone, and I'm happy with it, you know? But yeah. And then sometimes I'll do social stuff, and I'm like, the next day I'm like, ugh, I can't do anything. Yeah, you feel it. Yeah. But no, that's crazy. Did I tell you that when I used to when I used to collage, someone thought I was a serial killer because I had really? Yeah, they thought they were like, "What the fuck is going on with this?" Interesting. Was it like your method? My entire apartment was covered with little clippings, you know. But I was working on like a final project for school, so it wasn't like. And they hated it. They were like, "This is just collage." Oh no, the bad word. Yeah, man, that's so funny. But well, cool. We've been going for quite a while. Okay. Do you have anything that you want to get out before you want to like blaspheme God again? Oh my gosh, I know. I was like, let's talk about my practice, and then let me like air out my atheism. No, I mean, I'm so. My weird identity guilt, like oh my god, I'm so intuitive in my like there's no rationale, there's no thinking in the way I think about God. I'm definitely not like, I guess the
label would probably be agnostic.
Sure.
But I'm also not like who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. I'm not like, yeah.
If it makes me feel better, I'm not gonna like feel guilty like that. How ironic would it be if I had Catholic guilt in my atheism about trusting God sometimes?
Oh my God.
You know, like that would be a fucking crazy sandwich. I kind of do want to just keep talking about Catholic guilt because it's one of my favorite things.
That's so funny.
But yeah, dude, you're Latina. I give you the
Thank you.
You don't have to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Your experience is not the same.
Want to.
Your house is not, growing up, WASPs don't feel the same guilt. They just don't. And or Protestants in general. It doesn't even have to be a race thing. It's just like a religious thing. Like they just have a very different way of being, and I'm doing what you're doing, not what you were doing. I'm not cursing anybody, but it's just like, it really is a cultural experience.
Yeah.
But that's why it's kind of like weird when people try to fold you into the whiteness when that's not a culture that you identify with at all.
Right.
You know, like
right.
we dance to salsa and shit like that. Like it's like our parties growing up were very different. We you know, I've been to white people parties and they're lovely.
They're different.
They come with a lot of like that scene in Get Out where they're telling him like, I would have voted for Obama a third term.
My friends still make fun of me because like, even I had a few friends over last week and like I cooked so much food because I just don't know how to make
like a little
enough.
Yeah.
Like just enough. I make like way too much.
All right. Well,
food.
I'm inviting myself to eat
absolutely.
some of that. Well, cool. Anything that we can promote that you got going on? Your Instagram for sure.
My Instagram for sure.
What is that?
That's my name, Lauren Goldenberg Longoria. Long one. It's a very long one. I will be in some shows coming up as like the year goes on.
So keep tabs on that
keep
Instagram.
Tabs on me. Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else? That's it?
I mean, I think that's it.
All right. Well,
fun.
I had
Thank
a lovely
you.
time. And for you guys, we have business to talk. Like and subscribe. Comment. What would be a good to comment about your Catholic guilt.
Oh my God.
please comment about your Catholic guilt.
I'm like, hi, Mom.
And yeah, we have the Patreon. I have just gotten access to video on Patreon, so there's going to be some of that coming soon. I might make a new tier and then do extra stuff for that. But for now, it's $5 an episode to get early access to episodes. It really helps us and makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside because it's nice to have your work valued.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's been happening a lot. So that's not like me bemoaning it. I'm like, I've gotten a taste of it and now I'm hungry.
You got to let them know.
Yeah, you got to let them know. So and we'll be back next geese.
It was the pigeon. You're still thinking about the pigeon.
We will be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This was fun.
That was great.